to pray for his recovery para next month. Well, hindi pala next month. So December, wala tayong session. We'll resume our events next year na sa January na. So we're going to just continue with this and I think kailan ba tayo nagsimula with Flink?
Last meetup, meron na eh. Previous meetup.
The one I remember is April.
April. More or less, yun din yung I mean, prior to that, wala atang event PHINUG. So, basically, 2018, Flink has been with us. So, palakpakan naman natin ang Flink for sponsoring our events. The whole of for 2018, right? So, ngayon, unfortunately, let's proceed na to my talk, which is about CSharp. And I guess this is the past year and a half of CSharp na they've gone into a different strategy, which is releasing incremental point releases of their language. And so medyo hindi napapansin ng developers na available na pala itong features na to. We can do this na pala with the language. So I've come up with a talk that kinda puts all those together, and then at the end of this I'll also discuss what the plans are for CSharp 8.0. Which is the next major release, which is impending, siguro more or less first quarter of 2019 magkakaroon tayo ng new major release of the CSharp language. Now, so before I continue, who uses CSharp every day? Who uses CSharp every day in their own alright. So sino ang tawag dito? Sino dito yung umabot pa sa what do you call this? Visual Basic, PB6 bago sila nag-shift to C#.
C nga eh, C.
Wala pang integrated.
Yeah. So C# is more or less it's more or less 19 years old this year, going 20 years old. 1999 siya unang parang naging concept, and well, the first official release was 2001, and sobrang haba ng journey na yun. Medyo bumaliktad na yung mundo, and it's interesting how everything has changed since those early years and what we have now and what the platform is running on. So we'll go through all of that all of that history.
Ang naalala ko din sa C-Sharp, parang it was the product of Microsoft. Kaya dito combat niya pa.
In a way, actually hindi lang yun yung simula na yun. Anyway, so again, I'm Jon Limjap. I'm the lead for the Philippine NET Users Group. I'm also a technical advisor for a company called PageUp. And I'm also a member of the PSI Technical Council. And I love showing this picture because it has the guy who made C# in it. This is Anders Hejelsberg. So the oldies might know Anders Hejelsberg as also the guy who made Turbo Pascal.
Yeah.
Turbo Pascal. So from Turbo Pascal, nagsimula siya sa Turbo Pascal, he moved on to make Delphi. Tapos around 1999, pinirate siya ni Microsoft. Pinirate siya ni Microsoft after Microsoft failed at the J-Sharp project. Alright? Ano yung
Java.
J-Sharp project? Microsoft was actually trying to implement its own version of Java. Tapos, nilitigate sila ng Sun. And basically what happened was natalo si Microsoft, sabi sa kanya, hindi ka pwedeng gumawa ng sarili mo. Kasi implementation ng Java, kasi header. Diba? It's a competition. And during that time, that actually made sense kasi at that time, napaka anti-open source ni Microsoft. And so they made this language. But before I continue on that, so I just hope that you're already a member of the groups, of course, the meetup.com. And follow us on Twitter, although ngayon wala nag-tweet kasi ako nagsasalita. Ayun. Yun. So, anyway. So, alright, let me continue with that story. No? Medyo pabang kwentuhan to. 19 years. Ganyan. Joke lang. Tawag dito. So C# started as, ang code name nun was cool. It was a C-like object-oriented language. Yun yung cool, project cool. Yung they got Anders Edgelberg on board, and they tried to put it on. Anders was there trying to all the mistakes all the lessons that he learned from Delphi, all the lessons all the opinions that they have for and against Java, they put together C# there. And so when C# 1.0 was released in 2001, people said that it kind of looked like Java.
Yeah.
It kind of looked like Java. It kind of was a copy of Java. It seemed that way the first few years until around 2005. Ano nangyari noong 2005? The year before, the Microsoft Research Division made this huge effort to make what we now know as generics. Yung generic types natin na it's a super efficient way to encapsulate an object and to conserve memory at the same time while having an encapsulated object. And from that point in 2005, unti-unti yung C# naging it was able to incorporate more functional qualities to it. It was able to incorporate more, kumbaga, programming styles and programming paradigms. So that's the reason why it continues to be a popular language. A lot of people have questioned whether it's worth continuing to use C#. And I would argue that there's no better time to continue using it. C# from that closed, very closed source oriented na language, it has now become open source. You can actually contribute to the language yourself if you're capable of writing compilers. If you're capable of writing compiler code, actually, pwede ka mag-contribute dun sa C# lang na projects like GitHub. People will be there to guide you and the very opinionated na community. There's a very opinionated community actually that really filters the ideas dun sa mga bagong language features. So the language features that have come out, well curated sila, kumbaga, by both the C# the C# language committee which is not Anders Hedgelsberg with the C# team as far back as 2013 or 2014, I believe, to work on the TypeScript. So ngayon the younger generation might know the language TypeScript. Yun na yung baby ni Anders Hedgelsberg. Ito naman, there's a new team that's covering this, led by Mads Torgersen. So anyway, Stack Overflow yearly has a survey of the most popular and most loved languages in the community. So Stack Overflow is one of the largest sites written in .NET, written in C# and ASP.NET. And in their survey, so yung naka-ano dito, yung naka-highlight in blue is actually sila yung mga languages and technologies that are question mark kung are they a programming language? Would you consider HTML?
No.
Is Bash a programming language, or is it just scripting? So don't worry about that shade, So if you kind of take them off, so yung mga true blue programming languages, among them your most popular ones, and by popular it means these are the most used, diba? So number one is JavaScript, hindi makakaila. Everybody has to use JavaScript at some form to be able to be present in the web.
Wala na yung VB script.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Finally. Finally, except for some legacy projects. So kami may legacy project pa kami na may VB script pa. Nababaliw pa rin ako sa mga IIF.
May application kami nun sa VB script. Sa ginawa sa Excel, VB script siya.
Yeah.
Payroll system.
VBA yung
VBA yun. So, it's, magagamit pa rin. Pero it's not popular at all. So, number one is JavaScript. Number two is Java. Mas malaki lang talaga penetration ng Java sa enterprise, especially. You have Python coming in at third. And then C# is still a decent 34.4% ahead of PHP, C++, C. And then si TypeScript is mahabol. Ruby and Swift are down there among the specialized. Siguro Swift is specialized kasi sa mobile, and Java is contentious in terms of we expect this to kind of split into two languages in the near future, unless Google and Oracle agree with each other. kasi Oracle plans to license or to hard license the Java language use for enterprise by the following year. And then Google uses Java language for Android. Pag na-implement na ng Oracle yun, we don't know. Diba? And that uncertainty is actually a good thing for C#. Kasi now that with .NET Core, pwede ka na mag-implement ng C# pwede ka na gumamit ng C# sa Linux. So dito, a lot of your utilities, a lot of your applications that if you had wanted to use C# instead and deploy it to Linux, you could do it very well nowadays.
So,
Parang nabaliktad ng mundo.
Yes, basically, nabaliktad na mundo. Yung open source na ngayon is yung C#. Ang parang naging proprietary na ngayon is Java. So, yeah, I guess.
So, are you looking forward na dati pa pa siya maging Android na rin?
Well, sama rin pa rin yung strategy niya. Sama rin pa rin yung strategy ni Microsoft, but it's not different kasi si Xamarin ngayon, they're making it more compatible to .NET Standard. So yun, so So, paano ko ba explain yan? Si .NET Standard, think of it as yung interface.
Yeah.
Si .NET Core yung implementation. Si Xamarin is another implementation.
Parang ano siya, parang kontakan ka lang itong mga available na API sa ganito. Para kayo magkaroon ng connections lang.
Exactly. So, magkakaroon ng merong common language, tapos merong specific parts na doon na applicable. Anyway, there's another question in the Stack Overflow language survey, in which they asked the users, what's the most loved language? And by loved language, it means that this is the language that I prefer to use, di ba? Yun yung ano niya. And ang mga programmers, so dito, we particularly like new shiny things, di ba? Gusto mo bago lagi, high-tech, yan, tapos, yan. Kapag na-type mo na yung hello world, yan, mag-update ka na ng resume. Okay, nakapag-hello world ako sa Rust, lalagay ko na yung Rust sa sa resume. Yeah. So at the top of that is Rust, then Kotlin, Python comes in at third. So naka-highlight yung these are the languages that were present in the previous slide. Python, TypeScript. So
How do we measure yung love? How do we measure?
ano lang to survey lang talaga. Survey lang talaga to sa Stack Overflow. Yun nga, ano lang. Love is what you'd rather use. Kung ano yung mas gusto mong gamitin. So, meron yung Go language ni Google, Swift appears here, JavaScript, and nasa 60.4% para sa CSharp. Ayun. Followed closely by its functional sibling, C F#, and another functional language, C Clojure. So, marami pa rin gumagamit talaga. It's still relatively popular. It's probably not as, in a way, it's not as easy to use as Python, for example. Kasi Python, napaka-terse lang nung language niya, parang ang ikli lang ng tinatype, kaya lang, that also, ang Python naman, may issues sa versions niya. So, yung Python 2 is apparently very different from Python 3, and people are pulling their hairs over that. So at least CSharp medyo same yung compatibility across the different versions as the years went by. The strategy that the CSharp language team is stating is very clear. So they will keep growing CSharp to meet the evolving needs of developers and remain a state-of-the-art programming language. And that includes contributions from the developers themselves. Dahil nga, it's an open source language now. They will innovate aggressively while being very careful to stay within the spirit of the language. So sometimes to be able to innovate, medyo sisirain mo yung ibang mga yung ibang mga nakasanayan na ways of doing things. They'll try to still stay within still that in that object-oriented space while providing means for people who prefer a dynamic, more functional or dynamic style of programming. They'll still provide means to be able to write that kind of code within the language while remaining object-oriented. Alright. So number 3, given the diversity of the developer base, they will prefer language performance improvements that benefit all or most developers. So there are developers that are passionate about specific parts lang ng language, whether it's string manipulation or whether it's uh, search optimization ng list, di ba? List na object or etc. But at the end of the day, kailangan mag-benefit siya sa lahat or kung hindi pa lahat, most of developers. And I will discuss something very very controversial in this sense. Mamaya when we get to C# 8, there will be a big change to the C# language, and it can be something that people will like or not. Yeah. And number 4, we will continue to empower the broader ecosystem and grow its role in C#'s future while maintaining strong stewardship of design decisions to ensure continued coherence. So while developers can and do contribute to the C# language, to the open source project in general, i-manage pa rin yun ng C# language committee. And then they will make sure that it adheres to this general strategy that would enable most developers to benefit from all the changes that is applied to the language. So this is the message from Matt Storgesen when they came up with when they were talking about the future of the C# language. All right. So C# 7.1, 7.2, and 7.3. It came out. Actually, 7.1 and 7.2 both came out in excuse me. Both came out in 2017 pa. And then C# 7.3 actually came out May of this year. And some of these things might be familiar to you now. Some of the things that I will show might be familiar to you now, and some of the things might not. So I just hope that you will be able to benefit from it on the most fine. If there's something that you can use in your own projects, and or just just find a way to write things easier in C#. So I will go through each one of the releases and then mag-highlight tayo ng specific na things and show it there. Before I continue, meron ba dito napatin yung SOFTCON 2018? Wala. Alright. Kasi I also talked, this is actually one of my breakout sessions sa SOFTCON 2018. But SOFTCON is is a 7,000 peso conference, and some people I wouldn't expect especially junior developers to be able to attend it. Siguro na sponsor ng company. Yeah, but most won't be fortunate to have that. So yeah, I'm just going through this again, and this was something that I presented in that conference last month. And since then, there were some additional developments that came in. So yeah, it's a good thing to just run through it again. All right, C# 7. Simula tayo sa C# 7.1. That was and I'll focus on three what do you call this? Three examples of new features. So yung async main, default literal expressions and for tuple name. So I will have to shift to my, I will have to shift to my Visual Studio. Just bear with me for a moment here. Ayan, nakabukas na. There's, ayan, one of the big benefits of having a lot of friends in the community is that somebody might have already written the code for you. Yeah, so my teammate from my teammate in a former company, I had a teammate na Swedish, so he was collecting all the new features all the time. So tapos nasa GitHub lang niya. So nag-chat kami, I asked permission to kind of copy the code. Nasa GitHub naman yun.
Nasa GitHub, public naman.
Public naman yan. So makikita niyo yung sa author. Alright. Kita ba yung Kita ba siya from the back? Kita naman sa likod, malinaw ba? Teka, kaya natin ang content. Bakit mo ibigay yung HDM? Maluwang yung kable. Gawin lang natin po 16. Okay, malaki ng content. Alright, let's start with async main. So, alright. Nga pala, before I continue with this, alright, you have to do a few things to be able to use these features. Number one is make sure that you check for updates. Check for updates in Visual Studio, even if it's 2017, 2015. To be sure, 2017 Guide Community Edition. Check for the updates and make sure that you downloaded the latest SDKs. And then in your projects, go to your properties. Kasi baka mamaya you started with a project template that isn't pointing to the latest edition of the build. So wait lang ha. Nasaan ba yun? Nasa build. Dito sa pinakambaba sa build tab, yes, you will see the advanced button here. So click that. Make sure that your language version is set to C# latest minor version. Default. Yeah. So or you can manually choose one of the given numbers dito. Pero for just so inahabol niyo yung latest na version pag nag-update kayo, whatever version is there, make sure that your language version is pointing to C# latest minor version. If you're on the latest major version, doon kayo sa 0.0 maglaland. Hindi naman nabagi kapag nandun sa pero doon kayo sa 0.0 release maglaland. So parang yung magamit 7.3 for example. Latest minor version ang choose. And then all of the what do you call this? All of the features will be available for you. Alright. Okay, so first is the async main task. So in previous versions of C# 7.0 and below, for example, you won't be able to have a async na main method. You can have a main void, and then inside that method inside the method you can call other methods, pero hindi niyo siya malalagyan ng await na keyword. For this, for 7.1, they added that ability to put this await method there, and you could call directly na yung async methods on your main void program. Now, that's not necessarily what they call this. you know, breakthrough or something. Pero it just makes it easier for you, especially kung walang ibang tasks. Or especially if you're writing something as small as an Azure function. Diba? Sometimes you have Azure functions na sobrang ikli lang that you just deploy directly to your Azure account. You could write directly there na asynchronous siya. Alright. Next is the default literal expression. In the past, we had to write this to use the default na keyword. So, can anybody tell me what the default is? Anybody knows? Default?
Default, yung initialization.
Initialization ng alright. So, the default of an int, for example, is a 0. The default of reference types are null, diba? Yeah, so the default of any object usually would be null. And that day, to be able to use default, you have to call default and then parentheses and then the type name inside. Ngayon, just as a convenience, pwede mo nang tanggalin yung type name. So, it will infer what the type is. Tawag dito, you won't be able, of course, you won't be able to do that kung naka-var ito. Diba? Hindi niya malalaman kung ano yung type name. Diba? And that's a case where you could probably use that. But yeah, it allows you to choose whichever style that you want to do for your program. Alright. Next is, sino gumagamit na ng tuples? Tuples, yeah. Sir. Alright. So, inferring of tuple names. Alright. So C-sharp 7.1. In previous versions of C-sharp, I think tuples came out in C-sharp 6.2. Diba? Yun yung unang version na pwede kang magdagdag na tuples sa NuGet. If you initialize a tuple like this, ang mangyayari niyan is yung to reference your you get an item 1, diba? Item 1 and item 2. This is what happens to your tuple, and that's still that behavior still exists actually. If you do not put in names, so tuples allow you in starting in 7.1, you're allowed na ngayon to be able to assign names to your tuples. Ano yung ba lang ito? Hindi pala pwedeng ganitong ka direct. What is allowed is itong nasa, halimbawa ito. Kaya same variable name. Kasi nag-ano siya. Try nga natin. X1, Y1. Biglan lang natin yung tuple.
Yung tuple na yun.
So okay.
Ayaw pa rin ng X1 eh.
Ayaw pa rin ng X1. No accessible extension method. Teka.
Colon yan, X1.
Ito kasi, ang ibig sabihin niya is, automatic siya. If halimbawa, property name galing yung tuple. Yan, meron ka ng tuple.x and tuple.y dito. Tuple.x and tuple.y dito. I think this is the official way to do it. Kailangan i-declare mo as variables groups. Ayan, sa HTML natin na wala naman. Teka lang ha. We're currently facing some technical difficulties.
compile na.
Yeah. All right. The official way to do it is ganito. So if you have a variable count sa average and yung tuple 2. So pag tuple 2 mo dito ngayon, gagamitin nila yung average sa yung count automatically. So ano na tawag na ito. Yun na yung gagamitin niya na name. So if you there's still finding ways to make it shorter and shorter. So yeah, just to show you a little of the code and how it works. So yeah, tuples are a great way to make kumbaga, very simple objects. Very simple, hindi naman objects, actually ano lang siya container lang siya of values.
Kailangan mo
exactly. Na hindi ka na magde-define ng struct, hindi ka na magde-define ng struct, hindi ka na magde-define ng class. Mabilis lang na slide na way para mag-contain. So with this method, madali na rin magdagdag ng name dun sa dun sa mga tuples mo. Dynamic. Dynamic din siya. Pwede mo siyang dagdagan ng mga stuff. Alright, so CSharp 7.1 was very simple. Yun lang yung Yes, sir.
Back to the code.
Yes.
Equal to after the first line tuple 2. But if you assign it tuple 2 equals to some other label, will it take effect? Error.
Tuple 2 dot
Tuple 2 equals
another tuple.
Another tuple. Yun yung alright. So if I, let's say, meron akong another number dito, diba? See, you can always try.
Equal sign.
Oops, sorry. Yes. Okay, so another number. So what happens now to that? Pumunta pa rin siya, pumasok pa rin siya. Doon sa
Hindi ba lang
2.3. Kapag nag-dot ka, ginamit pa rin niya yung una. So, whatever the first one is,
in the right line, can you add another number?
Yeah, let's say. Right. Curious rin ako. So, tingnan natin.
Parang na-sacrifice na yung type C.
Hindi lumalabas yung another number. It's not available. So, dun siya use a first declaration niya. Dun lang siya mag-attach. I'm pretty sure it's very easy to make another variable. So yeah, dun na siya. If we have this, another average, another number. So yung first declaration, yun lang yung Alright, so actually that's it for CSharp 7.1. Very simple lang yung changes natin. Let's move on to CSharp 7.2. And this has some more interesting stories and stuff. Right. So ref read only and in parameters. So in the um, in the past there were some questions about, di ba, meron tayong out parameters where your out parameters is a object where the parameter that you put in is changed inside the scope of inside the scope of the method, and that change will be reflected outside. Yun yung out parameter natin. Meron rin tayong kabaliktaran naman nun, in parameter. So what is your in parameter? What happens here is, if I uncomment this, if I try to modify my in parameter, magkakaroon siya tayo ng error. Ang error niya cannot assign variable in because it is a read-only variable. So basically, it allows you to put in read-only na variables, read-only parameters that you cannot modify inside your method. So if you want to have a method that has referential integrity in terms of the inputs that you put into it, hindi mo modify from the inside as opposed to from the outside. In parameters yung pwede kang gumamit nitong in parameters. Alright. Meron din tayong tinatawag na itong non-trailing named arguments. So in the past, if you have a named argument, 'di ba, pwede kang gumawa na, let's see. Yeah, go to definition dito. Ref ayun rin pala yun. Sorry. Okay, ref in x, etc. Dati, if you're going to use the named argument feature of CSharp, kasi pwede ka gumawa na ganito compute na y is equals y is equals to something, ano ba to, int, diba? So, pwede natin 1, tapos x is 2. You could actually use that to kind of jumble your parameters. If you have a lot of that, if you have more than 3, yung mga name parameters mo, dapat nasa dulo siya. Dapat nasa dulo lang siya. Tapos yung mga non-name parameters mo, nasa unahan. In this case, pwede mo nang ilagay sa unahan yung named arguments mo. Non-trailing na siya. Pwede na siyang halo-halo. Medyo nakakalito to some extent kasi yung convention has been there for such a long time. Pero in some cases lang, it might benefit, especially kung halimbawa mahaba yung parameter list mo, tapos you prefer to alphabetize it instead of following that parameter convention that is existing. Pwede mo nang gawin yun. So non-trailing name arguments yung tawag doon. In this case, the in keyword is redundant, pwedeng i-omit yun. So, kasi alam niya na doon sa second position, si y pa rin yung babaksak. So, yeah. So, in parameter pa rin yung babaksak. Don't need to put that there. So, yun. So, non-trailing name arguments, tapos, in parameters na allows for read-only parameters. Okay. And then finally, for the longest time, and I've never really threshed this out dito. Kung ano yung effect doon sa classes ko. Nung dati, hindi ka pwede mag-private protected. Pwede kang mag-internal protected, pwede kang mag-private internal. Pero pag si private saka sa protected, pinagsama mo dito. Ang ibig sabihin ni private, diba, is only visible to this class. Ang ibig sabihin naman ni protected is subclasses lang yung pwede maka-access. So ngayon, private and protected is available na. I don't know what the specific use case for this is.
Pag protected, automatic private na siya eh. Accessible siya sa
Hindi. Kapag protected, pwede mong gamitin sa subclass. Pero kapag private, automatic hindi mo na siya pwede gamitin sa subclass.
Hindi, pero
so bakit mo siya pwede sa protected?
Pero pag protected siya, pwede mong gamitin siya doon sa class na yun eh. Di ba? So parang private na rin siya. So,
in a way,
di ba?
Pero ngayon, private na, protected.
Yung dapat natin yung Google natin yan. Google natin yung bago.
Yeah. I'm very sure there's a very specific use case for this. And I suspect that very specific use case also involves yung yung meron kasing lesser known feature that was implemented in C# 7 pa, or I think C# 6 pa nga eh. Yung embedded naman na method. Na pwede ka magsulat ng method dito sa loob.
Oo. Parang
dito sa loob. Di ba? So medyo nakakabaliw.
Pero private protected na kami doon. Redundant na siya yung private is part of the protected na eh.
So that's the whole that's the whole point dito nga, hindi na pwede yung yung keywords eh. Yeah. Pero it's I'm not really sure. This is one of those cases na why? Diba? Malaking question mark sa ulo ko, why? I don't understand.
Ito eh, sinasabi
But
dito sa
it's probably
the private sabi dito sa web, the private protected keyword combination is a member class access modifier blah blah blah. Ginagawa yung gisa. A private protected member is accessible by types derived from the containing class, but only within its containing assembly. Ayun, may assembly.
May assembly pa, kasi protect
yung private siya sa assembly.
Pero assembly, ang intindi nga yun yung internal.
Oo nga,
So,
ano kaya ito?
ano yung difference niya sa protected internal? Habang discussion yun, let's leave it for
future sessions.
For another day. Kung meron sa inyo gustong mag-talk about specifically about the private protected,
No, thanks.
please, volunteer. Please volunteer. We would love to know what the hell it is for. Yeah, because I personally don't. Okay. All right. A big feature that was rolled out, and this one is potentially important for some people, is the span. What do you call this? Give me a span T and stack along. And span is also merong span, merong memory, and then meron din yung stack along na keyword. So what these objects do. And this actually requires a separate talk. yung ano niya, actually it's very difficult to understand, but it requires a separate talk altogether. It allows you to manipulate large arrays, for example, without reallocating objects, without copying the array, without reallocating objects, without declaring new Ang implication nun for everybody, I mean, it sounds scary and it sounds nosebleed, diba? Pero ang implication kasi nun is gumagawa tayo ng bagong objects na inassign natin sa variable without consuming more memory. You're still using yung existing na objects na nandun na sa memory mo.
So, parang siya lightweight design.
Parang pointer.
Actually, parang pointers.
Diba?
Parang pointers siya sa C. So, there's a lot of memory operations sa C na previously not available sa .NET. Kasi nangyayari doon, naging unsafe na yung code eh. And di ba napupunta sa memory allocation errors, etc.
Kasi itong stack sa C, ano siya nilalagay siya sa stack segment ng assembly language. Siguro dito sa virtual machine, kaya lagay siya sa stack segment instead sa main memory segment.
Except na protected yung segment na yon. Hindi ka pa rin hindi ka pa rin magmamalo.
So, hindi siya lalabas ng VM.
Hindi siya lalabas dun sa ano na yun. Dun sa So there's a lot of there's actually a lot of literature behind the span object, the memory object, tapos meron pang read-only span, saka read-only memory, and na generic generic type siya, and that allows you to manipulate large amounts of objects na nakapasok either sa arrays or sa lists. So halimbawa nagpa-parse ka ng sobrang laking text file, nagpa-parse ka ng gigs of strings, di ba? These would be potentially game changers for that, or let's say image manipulation na. Image manipulation, halimbawa, implementing lang ng Gaussian blur eh. Meron ako nakitang what they call this, image library na yung ginagamit ko sa NuGet na pag-manipulate ng mga images, nung nakita ko sa GitHub yung implementation niya, wow, puro memory, puro memory shifting. So this potentially allows to reduce the amount of memory that's being used there, but it will take a lot more than this code demo for that. It will actually be probably more than one talk pa nga, baka series siya. I-explain mo siya talaga. So just know that it's available, and if you're in need of drastically reducing the memory footprint of your application, this is one of those things that you need to read about. Kasi it will really help. Alright. So yeah. So that's it so far for CSharp 7.2. Let's move on to some more interesting things. CSharp 7.3. Let's do this. Alright. Balik tayo sa tuples. Ironically, ang tuples, parang hindi mo siya pwedeng gamitan ng equals dati. Which is annoying, di ba? Kung pareho lang yung laman niya, bakit hindi pwede yung equals? So, finally, do sa CSharp 7.3, they allowed you to be able to use the different logic operators to compare na. Instead, so you could use the not equals, greater than, less. I'm not sure how greater than, less than will work. if ever. But at least for the equalities, nandun na siya. You would be able to find that. Nasaan na si tuple equality? Sa listahan na to. Ayun. So, just running that. Yan. So, lalabas lang na false kasi not equals yung ano. So, if we stop dapat ito lumabas na equals at maging true na siya. Maging true na siya. So,
Yeah, try to
ayan, baka
return
natin
that.
ito. Okay. Anyway. Alright, let's move on. Ang next natin is, nauna yung tuple equality dun sa generic constraints. Alright. Simula nung ginawa yung generics ng 2005 with CSharp 2.0, that constraints lang na available sa atin before was a type, the object type, the new keyword, saka interfaces. Yun lang yung available sa kanya. So for the next 13 years or so, hindi pa nadadagdagan yung constrainable types niya. Now with CSharp 7.3, it's now possible to constrain your types to enums and delegates. So if you want to make sure that your type parameter is an enumeration, you could use enums na, and then or delegates rin for the delegate keyword then for that type. So at least you could
function delegates.
use those types na. So function delegates is public delegate void, for example. Some event you could use it here in your type. So this is the first major change in the generic type since
30
it
years
came out. Since it came out 13 years ago. It took them 13 years. Ayun. And then finally, sa 7.3, so yung stack alloc kanina, there was no easy way to use initializers sa kanya. If you're initializing an array, for example. So prior to that, hindi ka pwede mag-initialize dun sa declaration na yun. Dito 7.3, pwede ka na maglagay ng initializer sa kanya. The easy initializers that you use for arrays and lists for your code. Alright, so we've covered things that have already been released. All of these are available for you. Update nyo yung Visual Studio nyo. And then yung pinakita ko doon sa projects, go to your build, and then yung advanced button, make sure that you're using the latest version of CSharp to be able to enjoy all these features. And then if you really want to study more about it, actually it's all available sa sa docs.microsoft.com. As in talaga nakalagay what's new in CSharp 7.3, and you will see a comprehensive list of the things, even things that I didn't discuss here. Additional stuff. So there are long lists of other things that you can see here. Kung papansinin niyo naka-reference sa kanya hanggang C#6. So yung prior to this, ang bago na was the lambdas. I guess this is enough for you to brush up on what has been added ever since tingnan yung dates, so this was August of 2017, 7.2. Ito naman 7.3 was May of 2018. Alright. The next question would be yung C#8 natin. Ano yung mga bagay na ini-expect natin sa C#8? Now, I will only be able to demonstrate to you one specific feature here, which is nullable references. And it's interesting, to say the least. In my presentation, ang pinakita ko is nullable references, ranges, default interface members, and recursive patterns. There are a few more that just came out, as in literally last week or 2 weeks ago lang na approve yung mga newer changes. So let's start with nullable references. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this guy. Yeah. So somebody wrote this. Null pointer references are the $1 billion mistake. And ang nagsaba nun is the guy who made the null reference himself. Si Tony Hoare. He coined his invention of null references as his $1 billion mistake. And the problem with null references is that it takes so much code to check it. Diba?
If null.
Yun ganyan palagi. Kasi what happens is, sa object-oriented programming, null is the default. Diba? We are expected na kapag object is new, null ang laman niya, wala siyang values and everything. Tony Hoare declared that as a mistake. Bakit? Practically, that's what killed object-oriented programming. Because everybody needed to pre-populate yung values and change all the things, and then it takes so much code to be able to write a boilerplate ng object, and then that object is modifiable, hindi siya immutable, which is what makes functional programming more popular to someone. Ayun lang, naging cumbersome lang ang object-oriented programming dahil sa null references, di ba? And ang pinaka-popular natin, anong pinaka-popular na object na exception natin? Ano yung unang exception na natututunan ng object reference, not
Null pointer exception.
Null pointer exception, di ba? Yeah. Object reference not pointing to an instance of an object. So it's annoying. It should have been designed. Languages should have been designed such that null is not the rule. It's the exception, di ba? Kasi exception naman siya talaga. Pagdating ng code ko dun sa null reference, I will have to handle it anyway. So in C# 8.0, there will become a convention for nullable references. So there was the C# lang group published a preview. So meron kang preview na pwedeng i-install sa ano mo. I have to warn you that it has the potential, if you do this wrong, it has the potential to ruin your Visual Studio environment and you'll have to reinstall Visual Studio. And that has happened to me. Okay.
So, ano yung mistake na ginawa mo?
Tawag dito, parang nagpatong ako ng dalawang preview features. One on top of the other. Tapos hindi ko na ma-install yung isa. So, na-break na lahat ng reference ko sa Visual Studio. Tapos nag-error na kahit bumalik ako dun sa CSharp 7.3. Okay? So, tapos sinubukan ko mag-update. Wala, wasak. Nag-error yung update. So, this disclaimer, if you see, you say GitHub, they make these previews available, but it has the potential to ruin your Visual Studio installation. So don't do it in your work Visual Studio. Do it in a personal, as much as possible, do it in a virtual machine. Okay? Yun ang pinaka-safe. Yun ang pinaka-safe na gawin. Do it in a virtual machine para hindi masira yung Visual Studio niyo. Okay. So, nag-install ako ng nullable reference, nullable reference na preview. And in this preview, you will have to put this decoration, non-null types. I'm not sure if this will be the final version or the final way to indicate that you want to use non-nullables in your objects. Pero I expect na siguro later on sa project configuration, magiging default siya. What non-nullable types does is that it wants you to consider all objects as non-nullable if you just declare them straight. Halimbawa, if I do a string here, itong class person, di ba? Class person name. Burahin ko muna yung question mark na yan. Class person name. Meron lumabas na green squiggly line dito. Ano yung nakalagay doon sa green squiggly line ko? Yo, non-nullable property name is uninitialized, diba? Bakit? Ano yung dito? The theory behind this is that for any object, dapat lahat ng properties mo is non-null. All of them have values from the start. So if you're not populating this in your constructor, diba, it's a problem. So what are your potential fixes? You've all heard about nullable value types. Diba? Nullable value types means yung int natin, imbes na kapag meron kang int question mark, diba, sa type mo, imbes na 0 yung default na value niya, yung default value niya is null. Diba? It's actually just syntactic sugar, meron lang siyang wrapper class na nilalagay doon sa int na yon to make it nullable. But at the end of the day, pwede mong gawing nullable yung value mo. Ang string natin is an object na by default, meron siyang laman. Ano yung laman niya? String.empty. Si code. Pero si code is still a string. It's a single element, it's a single element array that has a null terminating character inside. I'm not sure if you know what I'm talking about, pero for those who have gone through C, kabisado niyo yung null terminating character. And it indicates na walang laman yung string mo. Okay. Paano ko sasabihin ngayon kay object na, hindi, okay lang na magkaroon ng null value si name ko. Lalagyan natin yung question mark. So, if in the future you see CSharp 8 in-implement nito na to be true across all the projects, pwedeng ang maging rule niyo is that hindi kayo pwedeng magkaroon ng by default, hindi nullable yung mga types niyo. Kailangan siya, Kailangan explicitly ka maglagay ng question mark para ka pwede gumamit ng none. Alright. Ano ang implication nito dun sa sa code? So, for example,
So parang nabaliwala na yung null types sa question mark.
Okay. Simpleng example lang. Nullable yung name ko. Meron ako dito, console.writeLine p.name.length, di ba? This is a typical case. Meron kang person, hindi mo alam kung initialize yung name. Hindi mo alam kung may value siya, di ba? Tapos in this case, nullable siya. Meron ngayon dito warning na lalabas. Possible the reference of a null reference. So, during development time, lumalabas na yung warnings mo. This is a possible null reference. That is a possible null reference. This is a possible null reference. Dati, walang walang way for the compiler to, the compiler doesn't care if it's Ngayon, lalabas na ito. Ang implication nito is alright, so one of the most common errors that you will see students run into is the object reference error sa sa mga projects nila kasi they forget to initialize or hindi nila alam, kailangan ko palang ipapalit yung data source ng data grid. Di ba? Number one yun. May screenshot sa programmers, developers. Alam mo yung group na yan? Programmers, developers, may screenshot doon. Ano po yung error? Ikita mo object reference dun sa data source. Yun yung usual na Magkakaroon ngayon ng warning na doon sa code sa compiler nila. Na sa compiler pa lang, alam mo na hey, this doesn't have a null checking. And that will become, they are still arguing if it becomes the default in C#8. It has a strong possibility that C#8 onwards default na yung not nullable. And magkakaroon ka na ng warning sa code mo na, wala ka null reference check.
Pero maraming mag-break na code yun.
Yes, that's the contention. That's the contention. Oh. Ngayon, kung ito ipasok ko sa code na nagche-check ng null reference, di ba? Hindi ka na magkakaroon ng warning. Kasi hindi naman nakakapun sa code na yun if it's not. Yun yung enforce. So, yes, it's controversial. If Microsoft decides to push through with this, na gawin nila na default yung non-nullable types, it might become a breaking change for some people. Pero hindi rin siya naman talagang breaking. Lalabas lang sa warnings. Sa warnings mo yun.
Hindi ba siya compile error pag walang
Hindi siya compile error. Papansin mo, yung squiggly line is green lang.
Pero nilagyan natin ng question mark kasi kung wala siyang question mark, compile error siya.
Hindi siya mag-error.
Hindi ba nag-error? Kasi kanina may nag-error.
Kasi dito magkakaroon ng
warning lang pala, kailangan ko compile.
Sa error list mo, lalabas siya dito.
Na warning. Kala ko compile error eh.
Hindi siya compile error. So hindi siya mag-break talaga. Break. Pero, kung yung organization niya, halimbawa sa CI, lumalabas yung mga warnings. Biglang yung warnings mo sa libo. Di ba? Ganun na yung sa kanya. Ganun na yung mangyayari sa kanya. Now, it might be irritating for some, pero that will be the case for him. Alright?
If it doesn't become a default, that means that you have to specify at the class level or pwede mo project, pwede mo specify na non-nullable.
I think meron sa ano I think ang plano nila sa project level pwede ka mag-alagay dun sa .cs branch na non-nullable, tapos meron true or false. So yun yung ano namin, there's a bunch of options that's being discussed dun sa and that's one of the final things. Alright.
Dapat yan may refactor na pagkabigyan ng warning, may refactor na automatic add what values
I'm pretty sure lalabas yan sa lalabas yan sa what do you call this resharper or sa alright. Next is tawag dito ranges. Ngayon, hindi ko ito yung code na hindi ko mapagana kasi pag pinagpatong ko yung dalawang preview, wasak. Wasak lahat. Yeah. Tawag dito, ranges allow you to specify the range just like in Java. Diba? Tagal na to sa Java eh. Meron kang ranges sa So for example, I want to take a slice of elements 5 up to element 9, index 9. Index name ito. So index 5 will be your 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Diba? 6, 7, 8, 9. So, kapag gumawa ako ng data slice na ganito, 5.9, makukuha ko yung 6 to 10. So yun yung magiging slice ko. Magkakaroon ako ng array na ang laman niya is yung from 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's the ranges. There's another keyword that there's another symbol that they're considering, which is the caret. The caret, I think, indicates an end, a range end. Dun sa range yun. So that isn't clear yet, but there's a blog article that came out recently. Nasa na to? Let's just share that with you. Ito pala. Ito, so building CSharp 8. This literally came out 2 weeks ago, November 12. So dun sa ranges and indices. So yan yung yan yung ini-indicate nila na if you have an index object that's from the beginning, just put the 3. Tapos the caret indicates that it's from the end. Papatras. Yun yung niya. Tapos you could use both variables to indicate a range in your thing. Alright. So unfortunately I can show that you much as I want to. Alright. Ito, isa pa. Super controversial. Default interface members. So, who uses interfaces here regularly? Alright. Gumagamit tayo ng interfaces. Have you heard your developer say na sana pwede ko lagyan ng implementation dun sa interface mismo para
mali yun.
Para meron na agad na implementation dun sa iba?
It defeats the purpose of the interface. Mag-class ka na lang.
Exactly.
Diba?
Pero you can only inherit from one abstract class.
Walang inherit na.
Unlike interfaces. CSharp 8, apparently, they will have default interface implementations. How will it look like? It's here.
Dapat may interface, ako may class ka. Yun yung dapat dun yung implementation. Ako may ito.
So pwede ka na ngayon maglagay na interface na merong implementation dito sa ano na to?
Parang hindi na siya object-oriented.
Exactly.
Diba?
It is controversial. It is controversial. I could assure you. But again, kung if you're if you have a ton of I guess if you have a ton of classes that implement that specific method, tapos gusto mo lang lagyan ng default na paulit-ulit lang kasi yung code and you want to put it in one place. This looks like it. Whether or not this violates the spirit of an interface is another discussion. Pero it seems to be pushing out with C#. So it will be fun when we when we find it. It will also be interesting kung na makita ano implication nito sa dependency injection. Kasi sa dependency injection, ang daming, I mean, DI frameworks depend on being able to replace the code of your interface. Diba? So that's a big question. How does this affect DI? Will it work alongside it or will it work against it? So that's an interesting
Yung spring,
thing to hindi spring. I'm talking about independent, inject, lahat ng .NET implementations. Spring was primitive Medyo, siya kasi yung pinakauna sa Java so hindi pa maganda yung niya. Pero, for example, yung Unity ni Microsoft mismo, Unity dependency injection ni Microsoft mismo is napaka-seamless. Tignan natin kung ano yung effect ng default interface implementations dun sa right. And then some other things here in C# 8 is recursive patterns. So if you're familiar with patterns in functional programming, verify niya if a specific object is or a specific variable is a follows a pattern or a type. So that's it's now possible to do that recursively in C# 8. This is interesting, switch expressions. So hindi ko siya masyado rin maintindihan actually. Figure switch. Pwede ka pwede ka maglagay ng methods inside a switch statement. So, 'di ba?
Yung parang class na lang.
Weird guy, 'di ba? Parang bakit hindi nila class, 'di ba?
Parang siya naging JavaScript.
Parang ganun na script type yan.
One of the better questions that came out of SOFTCON was from someone from Clicks. Sino nga ba nagtanong sa akin? Si Alex. Tinatanong niya, so what's the whole point of of all these changes? Object-oriented pa rin ba C# or hindi? So ang ano dun is C# allows you to remain object-oriented. Diba? Pwede ka pa rin, yung old style, pwede mo pa rin gawin yun lahat Pwede mo pa rin isulat yun Pero pwede ka rin gumamit nito mga bagong, mas functional na style. So what C# is trying to become is to allow people to write different styles of code in one language. Yung naging isa na niya.
You could use object-oriented or you could write code.
Exactly.
Python style, di ba? Python style.
Exactly.
Correct.
And then ito wala sa presentation ko. So apparently this was contributed by a community sa open source. So target type new expressions. So instead of halimbawa may array ka tapos new point, iba sa initializer. 'Di ba? Pwede mo nang tanggalin yung point. New tapos yung constructor na new constructor. Okay. So it's a it's a convenience feature. Ayan. Pero wala rin akong preview na itong target list type, expressions. Anyway, so that's that's a huge dito. Yeah, thank you for allowing me to extend. Inubos ko na lang yung time kasi wala nga yung natin. Wala yung second speaker natin. Does anybody have any questions for anybody? Are you curious about some other things?
There are a few online comments.
Okay.
Medyo active ang online conversation.
Okay. Sige.
I'm sure you know some of them, but Julian, Jupiter, kung language ang perspective, mas maganda naman talaga si C# kay Java. But it is not all about language lang naman tinitingnan.
Yes, of course.
Then, lagi naman better basta latest. Basta may latest version.
Okay. Well, ang naman is, at least ngayon, I mean, I've been in .NET for so long, naalala niyo pa yung time na, Visual Studio yung Visual Studio kailangan, ang downloadable lang is yung Express Edition. Sobrang sobrang walang magawa, di ba? And ngayon you have the option that even to use VS Code, and VS Code is being used by other things, and the point is the whole ecosystem is evolving. It's different. The times are different now, and the language has to evolve. The technology is evolving with it. .NET Core is making strides na rin in bringing .NET to enable the web functionality to all environments, whether it's in Linux, whether it's in Windows, whether it's in Azure, whether it's in AWS, or even Google Cloud Platform. Todo na yung labanan dito. So I mean, hell, in my company we use .NET Core, we use C#, pero we're deploying in AWS. We're using AWS Lambdas. Our unit tests are in .NET. So yeah, medyo sinigal. Ano naman yung kapag maganda naman talaga kapag latest It's you still have to discern kung yun ba yung best solution for that particular problem that you are solving. I mean, if some other language fits the bill, like F#, for example, functionally, it's really F# is really good. I would say, pero mahirap yung learning curve ng functional is much steeper. So for most people na nagsisimula, hindi naman nagsisimula, pero nasanay siguro sa industry standard natin na object-oriented, C# still is still good go-to language to learn. And I think it will remain that way for a long time. If not, we'll see.
Someone commented then, ayoko lang kay Java, walang partial class.
Partial classes, partial classes has its pros and cons. Minsan,
that's a good topic for next.
Yeah. It's a good topic, but it's it has its pros and cons talaga. Minsan lalong gumugulo kasi ang daming files. Kanya-kanya. Pero for really large, yung for files na hindi mo maiwasan na malaki, maganda siyang way para hatiin mo. Imbis na regions yung gamitin. Yung kinokolapse mo yung region, tapos Nalilito ka ngayon kung ba to?
5,000 na pala, 7,000 na.
So, yung mga gumagawa siguro ng mga template, yan, importante yung partial class.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Ayun. Tapos madami pang I mean, Razor lang eh, di ba? Razor, may C-Sharp sa loob. Tapos maglalabas pa ng Blazor.
Mga tamad ng JavaScript. Mga tamad ng JavaScript.
Mga tamad mo JavaScript nga. If you haven't heard of Blazor, yung Blazor is parang Razor on steroids. Ibig sabihin, pwede ka na mag-write ng C-Sharp method sa loob ng HTML na page. Tapos directly mo na siya kinukuha ng parang JavaScript. Wow. Yung Blazor yun. It uses yung web compiler. Yung Roslyn, pinasok nila sa tama ba yung Roslyn parang pinapatakbo nila sa browser? Yung buong Roslyn na compiler. So,
parang mabagal yan,
So, sige, mabagal siya sa simula. Tapos buwibilis siya.
Buwibilis siya.
Yung maganda lang yun, isang language sa pag-aaral mo, C-Sharp.
Baka hindi dapat yun ang motivation mo when developing, di ba?
Exactly.
Ilagay na yung pattern ng
madami yun.
JavaScript kung takbo.
Pero yun, Blazor will come out next year din. So, nasa late stages na siya ng beta. Interesting rin yun. Gagawin na natin yun to. So, fun. Okay? May tanong pa? May tanong pa doon sa online.
Off-topic question lang daw.
Oh.
Does light mode or dark mode affect your productivity?
Yung iba kasi feeling hacker kapag dark. Di ba? Di ba?
Tapos naka-off yung lights.
Oo, naka-off yung lights mo.
Teka lang,
Tingnan mo lahat ng Tingnan mo lahat ng movies. Tingnan mo lahat ng movies. Dark yung dark mode yung may flash.
Tapos kayo mo play yung text mo.
Oo. Yun yung matindi kung mag-monochrome print ka. Matrix, di ba?
Hindi kasi napasay mo na sarili mo. In Notepad.
3090. Ayun, mag-alas 8 na kung wala nang tanong. Alright, thank you everybody. And so, unfortunately, yun lang yung natin. Yun lang yung talk natin ngayon. Again, we apologize na hindi nakapunta si Mark. We hope na gumaling ang kanyang gout. Alright, thank you very much. Teka, bago tayo kumain, picture muna.
Price na lang sa...
Saka start
Kamusta na? Patawang picture ko ba yan? Ilang na yung picture ako?
Labas na lang.
Sa labas na lang.
Labas na lang.
Mas madilim sa labas eh.
Ano itong free? Kita as usual.
Wi-Fi password yan eh. Pero every time may iba yan eh. Kaya
As usual.
Diyan na lang.
As usual.
Yan lang.
Picture ba?
Sure.
Oo, diyan na lang.
pero yung paano naman ito?
Meron na tayo mag-clickbait.
Hindi, okay.
Ayun naman kayo.
Okay, ito sir. Ano click ko dito? Ito.
Bakit po ba?
Thank you. Gitna lang.
Saan ako?
Dito ka sa gitna.
Dito
Maganda daw kayo.
Compress, compress. Compress, please. Compress pa, parang friends kayo. Okay. Alright. Medyo maliwanag.
Ay.
Hindi ko maliwanag.
Pwede mo kanasin.
Okay, cheese.
Live pa ba yun? Live pa yan?
Cheese. Okay, tapos. Wagi!
Jump shot.
Okay.
Thank you.
I-check na lang.
Muna tayo.
Kain na na.
Kainan na.
Abot ako. Tulog na.
Hindi pare. Pero yung quality. Ganda. Mahal eh. Ha? Mahal eh.
Stop recording.